Hello and welcome to Estuary TV News with me, James Dunn. In tonight's show, our guest talks about the chance to catch a rare glimpse of Hull's heritage.
And join me later with all the sport.
But first, here's Richard Morris with the news headlines.
Hello, in the headlines today, a Hull constituent who is stuck in Iraq has had his case reviewed by Number 10 and the Merchant Navy Remembrance Service remember their fallen comrades. An inquest has still not been opened into the death of a 25-year-old local man in Barnolby-le-Bec. The man's body was found in a van on one of the main roads which runs through the village. The MP for Hull North, Diana Johnson, has asked for the Prime Minister's help in the case of a man stuck in Iraq. One of Mrs Johnson's constituents, Christian Nicholson, has been in the country for 7 months. 3 days after he arrived, he was involved in a fatal road traffic collision and since then has had his passport confiscated by local police. At one point, he was also held for 65 days without trial.
We want him to get his passport back so he can travel back to the UK, but unfortunately that's not happened yet. And many people will know that northern Iraq at this moment is a very dangerous place to be. We've got ISIS, also known as the Islamic State, who are advancing in that bit of northern Iraq. So my constituent is very worried, wants to return home as soon as possible and needs access to his passport to be able to travel. Prime Minister's Question Time takes place at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday, and by the time I'd got back to my office about 1:45, 1 o'clock, the Number 10 had already been on the phone to my office to get all the details about Mr Nicholson's case. So that was very heartening that the Prime Minister's office was looking to get all the information and start the ball rolling. So clearly it's now with Number 10 to see what more they can do.
A search of the River Humber has been called off after a man went missing from a cargo vessel. The boat, named Freya and registered in the Netherlands, said that the man had gone overboard close to Grimsby on the River Humber. The boat's final destination was Immingham. RNLI are unlikely to renew the search. Northern Lincolnshire and Gould Foundation NHS Trust are trialling a new system to keep smokers away from the doors near hospitals. Outside Diana, Princess of Wales Hospital in Grimsby, a recorded message telling people that smoking is not permitted on the site will be triggered when someone stands near the doors to smoke. Investigators are still not sure what caused a fire at the GBM Waste Management Warehouse in Louth. The building was used as an office and cardboard recycling plant. The blaze started at 4 a.m. on Monday morning and required 6 fire engines, 2 hydraulic platforms, 4 sets of breathing apparatus and several fire crews. A celebrity visitor came to play the 9th hole at Grimsby Golf Club yesterday morning. Despite being delayed by fog in Leeds, ex-England international footballer and Newcastle United striker Alan Shearer arrived at the golf club by helicopter before getting on the golf buggy to play the 9th hole. It took a few attempts, but eventually he managed to make the putt, unlike the other golfers from the club who made the shot with relative ease. Everyone was in good spirits though, as it was part of a charity event. The event was for the Alan Shearer Foundation and was the 18 Holes 18 Courses Challenge, in which Alan will play 1 hole on 18 different courses in 1 day. After Grimsby, he flew off to Louth to play a hole on the Kenwick Park course. There were emotional scenes in Cleethorpes on Wednesday as former members of the Merchant Navy held a memorial service at the Remembrance Gate in Cleethorpes. The service remembers those Merchant Navy sailors who died in conflicts dating back to the First World War. The service holds special poignancy this year due to the ongoing First World War centenaries across the world and comes on Merchant Navy Day, in which the National Remembrance Service will focus on the First World War. Seafarers Chaplain, Reverend Cameron MacDonald, relayed how important it is for these men and the country to remember their fallen comrades.
It's a service where we remember those who served in the merchant fleet. It's very easy to forget those who served. This year we remember the First World War, as I said in the service, and also the Normandy landing. Without the merchant service, they couldn't have taken place, and the country wouldn't have been fed. And it's the same today. Our merchant service keep this country going.
That's all from me for now, and we'll be back with more news soon. If you have any news for us, then please don't hesitate to contact us on Grimsby 01472 315561 or contact us through Twitter at Estuary TV, or you can search Estuary TV on Facebook. Bye for now.
Thank you, Richard. Now, next on the show, I'll be talking to John Netherwood from Hull Civic Society. They celebrated their 50th birthday last month, and their remit is probably best described by their motto: promoting the future, protecting the past. And this month, you'll get a chance to see some of their incredible history the city has to offer with special Heritage Open Days. It's a national event that's been running for 20 years, but in Hull, they've been doing it for 30, and they've now been given a special award for their innovative work. John, tell us a little bit more.
This year we were very pleased to be presented with an award by the National Heritage Open Days organisation for creative thinking. And this reflects the amount of effort that goes into Heritage Open Days in Hull every year. This year, in fact, we're the second biggest event in the country, and we're quite pleased about that, but it does represent a huge commitment by about 150 volunteers, about 50 companies, by the City Council, all being in a position to sing the praises of the heritage in this great city.
So I suppose for a lot of people, this is a chance to learn the history behind some of the buildings in the city that they walk past every day and don't batter an eyelid.
Well, it's extremely nice. It's a very, very interesting project to organise, albeit somewhat exhausting. We've got something like 50 heritage buildings open to the public across the 4-day period. We've got about 20 talks of a historic nature, such as the life and times of J. Arthur Rank, who was born in the city. We've got walks all around the city, about a dozen walks, and also visits to important companies in the city, because we firmly believe that these heritage buildings that we've got now only came about by the people who were the capitalists, the generators of wealth in their day, in many cases 200 years ago. And so we think it's important to show off the companies now in the city who are themselves creating the wealth and the heritage for tomorrow's generations.
And how important is the famous Old Town Museum Quarter?
Yes, absolutely it is. And you know, for example, just in this very street where we are, there's the Pacific Exchange. Now, the Pacific Exchange was one of the first corn exchanges built in the country, and it really served the buying and selling of corn and grain right up the north side of the country. And it was full of very august people, one of which, of course, was Joseph Rank, the famous flour miller, who became the richest man in England, apparently, and left a huge legacy, a charitable foundation, which is still supporting people in the city to this day. People who were members of the Corn Exchange had to wear their top hats, and if they didn't wear their top hats, they got kicked out. So it was all a very formal process.
Okay, and obviously, like the area we're in now, the Old Town, the Museums Quarter, how important is that? Because obviously this is really central to the heritage of the area.
Yes.
What will be going on here, and what is here?
Well, what is increasingly recognised is in fact how good Hull's museum's offering is. It represents over the years a very, very large investment by the City Council, and this Street Life Museum that we've got over here behind us is a really wonderful display, very largely of transport related things. But it's got, for example, over there, the first oil compression engine. Now, some people would say that was a diesel engine. In fact, it's not a diesel engine at all, it's a Priestman engine. And if that was properly recognised, when we went to the petrol pumps, we'd fill up with Priestman, not with diesel. But of course, Mr. Diesel got the better publicity, and so everybody thinks he invented it. Well, he didn't. It was invented by Joseph Priestman. Also over there is a similar device developed by the Priestman's company, who made cranes. It seems to be the first drag-link excavator that was ever made in the world. So there's all sorts of important artifacts that are available to see. And this is really the centre of Hull's developing tourist industry, particularly the High Street where we're standing now. High Street, really, if you look at it, is like a film set. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. It hasn't got enough commerce going on yet, but it's in a very good state of repair. And to look at it, it's really an amazing thing. It's of course part of the medieval street pattern of Hull's medieval old town, which survived intact despite being quite heavily bombed. Most of the major buildings survived. The street pattern is still there. The street pattern of our medieval city predates that of Leeds and Manchester and Liverpool. We were their first chaps. So, you know, we've got a lot to shout about and be very proud about.
And of course in 2017 it will be places like that we'll use to showcase the city of Hull to the world.
Since the last October, when it was announced that Hull was to be City of Culture 2017, you felt the sort of a kind of growing excitement in the business community among people. It's quite strange really, it's just the place is buzzing. The number of visitors has gone up hugely. We're getting reporters in from all over the world wanting to know about the city. Last week apparently we had the Sydney Daily Herald came to have a walkabout and to do a feature about the city. So it really is very important. And of course we are already City of Culture, because as soon as you are announced as City of Culture 2017 in this case, you automatically then assume the title. You've got it then, and indeed for 3 years afterwards, until the next people assume that crown. And it has to be said, in April there was some concern about whether the city, not whether it would win the bid, but whether in fact with the timescale pressures we could get a decent bid together in that time. As it happened, the City Council pulled together very rapidly a very competent team, and so it was quite a privilege to, if you like, play a minor part in that process.
Thank you, John. Now next it's time for some sport with Tigers fan Dan Kemp, who has been in an unusually good mood since Monday. How you doing, Dan?
Yeah, not bad, thank you, James.
So you told me earlier in the week that you thought that transfer deadline day was like Christmas, I think you said.
I think it's probably the most exciting transfer deadline day Hull City fans have ever had, and I definitely can vouch for that. 4 great signings.
Best Christmas ever?
It's up there. It's definitely up there.
Well, I'll let you get on with the sport then.
Tomorrow is National Non-League Football Day. It's a chance to watch your local non-league side, whilst Premier League and Championship clubs have the weekend off for the international break. North Ferriby United are in action at Church Road and are offering half-price tickets to Hull City pass holders, whilst Grimsby Town also play at home against Welling. Scunthorpe United look to make it a trio of wins in all competitions against Bristol City. A host of former international players, including Matthew Hoggard, Dominic Cork and Graham Thorpe, took to the field at Louth Cricket Club this week. They represented the Professional Cricketers Association, which took on an RAF 11 to raise money for the Royal British Legion and the RAF.
The PCA Masters, notoriously over the years, have been, they've played 10, 12 games a year. They all do it for a wide range of causes all over the country, and do a great job. So, it gives us a chance as ex-players get back together, have a bit of fun, take the mickey out of Dominic Cork. Graham Thorpe's here, somebody who I was fortunate to play alongside for the short part of my early part of my career. And he was one of the best batsmen ever to play for England. So to have even to have someone like Graham Thorpe who's been retired for 10 years, when you see him play, the lads don't lose it. We just get a bit slower. We get a bit fatter and get a bit slower, but the ability is always it's still there.
Louth and District Indoor Bowls Club are pushing for younger members to join up. It's often seen as a sport for older people, so they're holding an open day this Sunday to welcome newcomers.
Well, that's a very good question. I think, like in all youth organisations, there's a bit of peer pressure. But I think bowling's seen as an elderly people's pastime. Definitely not the case, because if anyone watches World Bowls, you'll see some of the best bowlers are early 20s. And bowling is a sport where young people can bowl with elderly, and I mean very elderly people, on a level footing.
And that's all for the sport. Back to you.
Thanks, Dan. Well, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today. Don't forget to let us know if you've got any more stories for us. You can get in touch by calling on Grimsby 315 561. Find us on Facebook or Twitter, or email us on info@estuary.tv. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.